Montgomery Community Media presents Small Business Network, brought to you by Montgomery County Economic Development Corporation. SBN is also sponsored by M&T Bank and Leadership Montgomery.
Hello and welcome to Montgomery Community Media's Small Business Network at Home edition. I'm Kelly Leonard and I am your host. Thank you for joining us online. Joining me online also to discuss reviving your business pitch in a new economy are Jamie Ratner, founder and CEO of Certificate, Arthur Toole, co-founder and CEO of Meg Relief, and Tien Wong, CEO of Opus 8 Incorporated. Welcome, everybody.
Good morning. Thank you.
I am so excited to have you guys here with me. You know what? I want to just open up the discussion by just asking how you've each had to pivot your business in this new economy in light of COVID. So Jamie, can you kick us off?
Sure. So we very quickly realized we were going to need to pivot because Certificate is all about family experiences. And, you know, once COVID hit, most of our experiences that we're used to, like going to amusement parks and indoor play places, all that was shut down. So we quickly pivoted to Certificate at Home, which included, you know, family experiences you could have at home, including things like meal delivery, date night in a box, things like that. And then we moved from Certificate at Home to Certificate at a Distance. And now we're offering family experiences from a distance, such as drive-in movie theater experiences, strawberry picking, just things that families are comfortable to do right now.
Awesome, thanks. How about you, Arthur?
You know, for us, you know, we had to change really quickly because for us, it's all about providing pain relief. And people weren't going to the stores. And so if they weren't going to the stores, we couldn't get to the doctor's offices to make our presentations. So we had to pick up the phone and build up a whole email campaign and then start doing things like Facebook ads and things that we could do virtually from home. So we were able to do that kind of quickly and then just keep moving.
Tien, how about you?
Well, for us, with our events business, we were sort of taken aback. We had a live event scheduled at American University that was canceled 2 weeks before the event, and we had 500 or so RSVPs. So we had to quickly figure out an online platform and get everybody trained. And this was our first time doing it. So it was really trial by fire, and we pulled it off. And you know, it was just a huge learning for everybody. I think the biggest thing for me was just to make sure that my team was focused and relaxed and not trying to get too stressed out because we had a lot going on with the world and with society and with our families and everything else. But just to try to stay focused on delivering, you know, what we were known for delivering, which is a really good product with great presenting companies and good content and phenomenal networking. And we tried to do, it's not the same as doing it in person, but you know, we tried our best to do it that first time. And now we're on our 6th event and we're sort of getting the hang of it now. It's now becoming sort of our new reality. And we've decided to keep doing these on a monthly basis. They're better attended than our live events, believe it or not. And no matter what happens, even after the end of COVID, we're going to continue doing these monthly virtual meetings.
Love it. Love it. Yeah, I love, you know, if we have to look at the silver lining of this whole process, it's forced us, this pandemic has forced us to grow new muscles. And so it's been a tremendous growth experience, I think, for everyone in the business community. You know, Jamie, I know for you all, especially with so much of what you do catering to families, I'm sure it's stressful, right? And so when you think about the pandemic, everything that's going on, is there any particular thing that you're struggling with right now?
Well, the big struggle for us was that we start selling camp in December. So we had sold thousands and thousands of camp slots from December, January, February. And then it became unclear if we were going to have kids going back to camp. And still to this point, it's still, you know, there's weeks that the vendors haven't decided. So it was a lot of dealing with, we had tons and tons of refunds and, you know, understanding what each business was going to do, and they were not sure what they should do. And so that was a very stressful part of this for us, you know, and then pivoting as well, you know, trying to figure out what was going to open, and still to this day figuring out, you know, are things going to stay open? And we are in, you know, all throughout the country, so it's different everywhere. So, you know, we may have these kids entertainment places in Texas and California that are open, but they could close any day, you know. So it's just staying on top of it all is very stressful, and understanding what you should work on. And it's become very, very tough, but we're trying to take it day by day and work through it.
Wow. Yeah. Well, you know, and the purpose of this conversation was really to look at, you know, pre-COVID, you and all of us had gotten together and figured out, hey, this is what we're going to talk about. And then COVID hit, and then, you know, we're forced to pivot a bit. But Jamie and Arthur, the thing that both of you have in common is that you all, you know, receive significant funding in your business. And Arthur, you in particular, you won $50,000, the $50,000 veteran Shark Tank, and 2 other business grants within your first year of operations. And so I would love for you to share, and then I'll, you know, kick it over to Jamie as well, about sort of what are the things, maybe narrow it down to 3 things. What are those 3 things that a person would need to do to prepare for their first business pitch competition?
Oh, that's a good question. So I didn't realize that pitch competitions was a thing. I always assumed that you had to give up equity. So when I found out you could do pitch competitions where there was no equity, it was literally, they just gave you money. You know, we jumped all in. And the first thing I learned is that you have to know your numbers. You have to know your costs, because that's what they're going to ask you. Before they ask you, can you scale? Before they ask you, you know, what kind of problem are you solving? All the judges were like, you know, what's the cost of goods sold? You know, what's this rate? What's that rate? So we knew our numbers cold. And I used resources like the Small Business Development Center to help guide me, free resources to help me get there. The second one was learning how to connect with the judges, because we were competing nationally, and some of our competitors, they were on their second round of funding. So they knew how to present in a professional manner. I think what brought us over the edge was just we were able to connect with the judges. So just know how to connect and talk to real people and present an idea. And then the last one, the most important one, is just practice. We practiced every day for the last 2 weeks. I was in front of everybody. If you were connected to me at all, you heard my pitch at least twice. And those were the things that got us through it. And so we did well. And then once we did that, you know, we found other grants and just started, you know, wash, rinse, repeating the process. And that saved during this COVID environment.
Wow. Well, and you know what, you bring up a really interesting, the first thing you said, know your numbers. And I think one of the things that separated or is separating the players from the pretenders with COVID is that so many people going after like PPP and other money. The fact that if you don't know your numbers, then you basically are running a hobby essentially. And I think a lot of people learned really quickly how important it is to really understand what your numbers are looking like in order for you to even qualify for some of the funding that's available through the SBA and other state and local organizations to just simply stay afloat during this period of COVID. Jamie, how about you? Because I know you were on Shark Tank and you got some funding from, well, I say some, $600,000 in funding from Kevin O'Leary, which is no small feat. And so I would love to just learn about your experience, and if you have maybe a few quick tips that you would like to advise the business community folks that are listening to this around what they need to do, in your humble opinion, when it comes to preparing to pitch your business.
Sure. And I think Arthur, you know, all his points were dead on completely with Shark Tank as well. I think, you know, Shark Tank, the actual process of making it in that room is very, very difficult, and the chances are very slim to get to that point. And I think that we got to that point because we put 100% more than 100% into that application process. They asked you to make a video and, you know, fill out all these applications, and we just put everything, you know, we made the best video we could. We put our best foot forward, and I think that really got us through. And then I think the other key point was we had to be the ones to kind of, we had producers who brainstormed with us, but it was us when it came down to that, you know, designed, you know, what's that pitch going to look like? And, you know, this is TV. So, you know, coming up with something super creative, I think got us in that room. You know, we did this crazy roller coaster costume, because you have to visually show your business. So it's hard, we're an online platform. So we found these costumes and everyone was a roller coaster, you know, they were all part of a roller coaster. So it was great for TV. So, you know, being creative, but, you know, knowing the numbers is certainly key to actually getting that deal and showing that you know your business.
Now, and as a TV viewer, and so many people love watching Shark Tank. I mean, I talk to folks who are like, I don't watch TV, but that's the only show that I watch. That's the show that I watch. And so give us a glimpse into like, okay, we see X number of minutes on television, but how much time does it take actually, like in terms of filming your segment?
So they give you about an hour that you're in the room with them. And there is no there's no stopping, you know, it's completely 1 hour. You have no idea how they're going to edit it. You know, they give you a little, they told us, you know, you can, because it's me and my husband is my partner. So they told us like we could kind of discuss, you know, before we made that final offer, but there was no privacy. I mean, we were completely, you know, mic'd up, and, so you have to know, you have to be able to communicate through your eyes, basically, as to what you're going to do. But yeah, 1 hour cut down to 10 minutes.
Wow. Awesome. Thanks for that. Now, Tien, as an investor, give us your perspective. So especially now in light of COVID, what do you think are some of the things that our investors are really looking at? Because now we know what we know with COVID, and so many businesses have had to pivot or shift. So what are investors looking for in businesses?
Well, I think deals are still getting done. So early stage companies are still getting funded. I think we saw a lot of deals that were in the pipeline in Q4 of last year get funded in Q1 and Q2 so far this year. I think that you're seeing some asset deflation. And it starts at the private equity level with credit. There's a slight credit crunch as sort of debt multiples have dropped. So that affects asset values on the buyout side, and then that trickles down to sort of your C, B, and A round and early stage. So 20, maybe 30% reduction in valuation. Seeing entrepreneurs coming up with some great ideas. I've seen, we've been tracking dozens of companies, and we're seeing them sort of come back with pivots related to COVID, pivots related to sort of more socially conscious entrepreneurship, so double bottom line type solutions, and more creativity in general. I mean, these entrepreneurs are just really indefatigable, man. They are just really, they never give up. They're totally creative. They channel their fear into opportunity, and it's just awesome to see. But I think that, long and the short of it is, and I tell these entrepreneurs, don't worry about the short-term valuation hit, because you're trying to build a big enterprise, right? You're trying to build a $1 billion company or a $100 million company or whatever. So the dilution you're suffering today in the long run, because you're going to get your capital today in a tight market, will allow you to grow your business and be successful. So, yeah, I mean, I think that COVID has affected some investors, especially some of the institutional investors that like to meet. They want to travel to the portfolio company. They want to look the entrepreneur in the eye. They want to touch and feel, talk to the customers. But I think people are now in the sixth stage of, grief or whatever, like they're in the acceptance phase of COVID, and they're realizing they can't get on an airplane and go see people. So they're going to have to make do. And I've talked to several investors who have actually funded deals, having met and done their due diligence via Zoom. So, very interesting what's going on here.
Gotcha. Awesome. Now, and Arthur, let me ask you, because I know you're really passionate about helping startups and small business entrepreneurs to identify opportunities. And so where can interested parties find business pitch or grant opportunities in today's environment?
So for us, it was, meeting people like yourselves that host these kind of programs, and then and just networks and communities. One of the ways we found a veteran Shark Tank was just through another veteran. And by the way, if you have any veterans that are watching this, they just opened up for the 2020 application pool. So the next person that wants to go and pitch for $50,000, go ahead. And if they need any advice, free advice, hey, I'm there. One of the things that helped us find all the other grants was we use Google. Right? Google has a free app that's Google Alerts. You can go in there right now and type in business pitch competitions, business grants, and anything that comes up and shows that, it will email it to you. And so that's how we're finding all of ours. And so it didn't cost us anything, just a couple of keystrokes, and then you get access to everything that comes out every day.
Now, Tien and Jamie, do you all have any advice or guidance for folks looking for money as well? And Jamie, I'd be curious to know, did your business go through application or process with all the PPP or other SBA monies that are available to sort of help you bridge any gaps that may have been created as a result of COVID?
Yeah, we did get the PPP loan, and we needed it. And we did, we had to do furloughs and layoffs as well. But it's been, it's the whole process has been, up and down because, immediately we used the money because that was what the instructions seemed like. And unfortunately, now they've extended the use. So it put us back again. So it's just stressful to keep figuring out what's going to happen next.
Yeah.
We were fortunate enough to get it.
Awesome. And Tien, what about you? So, do you have guidance or advice? I know CONNECTpreneur puts small businesses in front of investors as well.
Yeah, we have CONNECTpreneur. We usually have 10 to 12 presenters every month, and we have 150 qualified accredited investors on in our meeting, along with a few hundred other entrepreneurs and founders and CXO level people. But I would just say that it's a little bit harder. So you have to maybe make more phone calls. You need twice as many introductions, and because of the challenges with respect to uncertainty that always affects investors' mentality, as well as the fact that they can't get together with you face to face. I think, that those are two challenges that a lot of entrepreneurs face. And with respect to cost cutting and, conserving cash, that's critical right now because we don't know what's going to happen. We don't know if there's going to be a third or fourth round of stimulus coming. And we don't know what our customers are thinking. So as in running a business, I think it's really important to conserve cash. Cash is king right now.
Yeah, absolutely. So let's talk about emotionally and things that, so Jamie, again, I pivot to you somewhat because I know you're supporting so many families and you have a family. I mean, we all have families, but how have you been staying motivated throughout this crisis?
Well, I think first off, taking care of yourself is you have to take care of a whole team of people. But, I made sure, I continued my schedule, waking up early, taking a run, doing yoga, just keeping myself sharp and taking care of myself, number one. I think that's kept me in a good state of mind. Two, keeping excited and kind of looking for other opportunities, has always been to just keep me positive and keep me excited about where the future could lie. And, I listen to, how I built the podcast, that really motivates me every day. When I get to listen to that, when I'm just for other business ideas and just, advice and things like that. just to keep me focused. You know, and it is like Groundhog Day. So, you know, it's keep just getting through this right now, I think. And if I'm in a good place, I feel like I can lead my team. I can continue to lead my team and keep the others in a good state of mind as well.
Yeah, and that's so critically important. You know, one thing that I do want to come back to that you mentioned, Jamie, and I know because I know Arthur personally, I know both of you work with your spouses.
Right.
And so I know even without COVID, working with your spouse can pose a challenge, right?
Yeah.
And so when you layer COVID onto this, I would love to, what's one or two pieces of advice that each of you would give? And Tien, certainly you're welcome to join it too, because I'm sure you probably support tons of husband and wife teams. What's one or two pieces of advice that you would give to folks who are working either with their spouse or maybe it's a family-owned business? You know, we've got plenty of father and sons and mothers and daughters that work together and so forth. So Jamie, let's start with you. What word of advice would you give?
I mean, from my perspective, I know this isn't always possible, but my husband has, even though he's the president of Certificate, he's continued to keep his other job. And I think that has been really, really good for us because we're not 100% reliant on the business. And he also has other interests outside of, you know, and other people he's working with on a deal. You know, it keeps some split between us in some way. Otherwise we'd be completely 100% with everything together. So that's been, you know, if possible, that would be, you know, someone starting a business, I would give them that advice.
Gotcha. What about you, Arthur?
You know, for us, we just had to understand that, you know, understand that your spouse is just different. We see things different. You can see the exact same thing and have two different perspectives on it. And so being able to communicate, you know, always communicate, over communicate has helped us a lot. Being okay with being frustrated with each other and being able to say, I do not like you right now. I do not like what you're saying right now. And not being in an attacking way, but like just know that that's just part of the process. And then the last, just get, you know, for Danette and I, just give each other space. Like she goes with her sister every Friday. We know every Friday there's no business. It's her and her sister. And then for me, Saturdays, listen, just give me quiet time and we're good. And that's just worked for us. And we just continue doing that.
Yeah, I jokingly tell folks all the time, you know, it's no different than driving, right? If you're on 270, stay in your lane, because if you veer off into somebody else's lane, you're going to get yourself into trouble. So stay in your lane. Tien, what type of advice would you give, or do you have for either families or couples that work together in business?
Well, we've invested in some family businesses with husband and wife teams. And I think the key thing is to have that demarcation, like you said, you know, stay in your own lane and then don't take the problems home with you if you can avoid it. I think that's really hard to do. I mean, I grew up in a family business. My mom grew up in a family business. So these kinds of things, they meld, you know, personal and business meld together, and it's really hard. I like Arthur's idea, which is sort of give each other space. Although I would think that's situational, you know, probably depends on the team. But I think that it's a challenge, you know, it's, you know, to live and work with somebody, be 24/7, especially from home. I could hardly imagine that for myself. But I think the successful couples that I've seen run businesses, they do communicate very, very well together. And they have a tremendous amount of mutual respect for each other, but most importantly, I think they, like you said, they stay in their lanes and try not to interfere with each other, you know, as little as possible.
Awesome. And so as we start winding things down, because I want to revisit this whole notion of advice. We gave advice with regard to what you should do when you're working with a spouse or a family member. But what one piece of advice, or maybe even two pieces of advice, would you give to folks who are navigating this new economy? And so I want to open this up to each of the three of you. What piece of advice would you give to folks who are either about to pitch or they're thinking about pitching in this new economy? What advice would you give? Arthur, let's start with you.
So two things, just always be solution focused, not product focused. So if you stay there, then you can be flexible on everything else, because in this new environment, you may have to pivot. And if you're stuck on just selling your one product or your one service, you can miss out on an opportunity. And then just be patient, right? And just keep going.
Awesome. Jamie, how about you?
My advice would just to be as scrappy as possible right now. Figure out, what's really, really necessary, and, figure out ways to do everything for less. That'll buy you way more time. So. Yeah,
that's good. Yeah, but be shopping for those bargains, right? Trying to figure out how to do more with less, because I think, to your point, so many folks, you're shrinking even your workforce. And so it's like, okay, so you've shrunk, and then you also need to be able to generate revenue in that smaller environment. So thank you for that. Tien, how about you?
Well, in the business to business environment, which is where we play, we are focused on really understanding the customer's pain points and needs and not overselling. I was on I don't know if I mentioned this to you, but I was on a webinar with John Scully, who used to run Apple and Pepsi Cola back in March. And he said, now is not the time for promotion. Now is the time for connecting with emotion. So we want to connect with everybody, on a human to human level first, and then worry about, we think the profits will take care of themselves, hopefully down the road. So trying to understand what the real needs of our clients are, and then playing to our strengths. So making sure that what we do really well, that we keep doing it really well, and matching it to our clients' needs, and then jettisoning stuff that's not been working. This is a great opportunity to clean house, get rid of processes and things that you were, or stuff that you were doing that really don't have any place today. And, yes, we are furloughing and laying people off, but this is going to be one of the greatest hiring opportunities in our lifetimes once we get to the other side of this. So I think it's critical to stay in touch, keep the networks going, stay in touch with people, and identify talent that you would want to bring on once you start growing again, because there's a lot of great talent out there. We're seeing this at every level. And I think over the next, once we get out of this mess, who knows when that'll be, but for the next 12 to 24 months after we get out of it, it'll be a great opportunity to build a great team.
So true. So true. So yeah, we definitely have to be glass half full type of people, right? Because that's what's going to get us on the other side of it. Having optimism, having hope for the future. So I definitely thank you all. Thank you, Arthur, Jamie, Tien, for your time. Thank you for just sharing those nuggets of wisdom with our small business community. And thank you everyone online for joining us on behalf of Montgomery Community Media, the Small Business Network, our partners, our sponsors. We thank you for your time, and we look forward to seeing you again soon. Take care.